Welcome back, everyone. Speaking of elves, I promised elves. Now it's time to deliver.
Speaking of elves.
Speaking of elves.
I thought we were speaking to elves.
So Gravaris, you were speaking of them, I guess.
Now side note to this whole thing.
Yeah.
Anytime I'm in a D&D stream and we're like in a place full of elves, my chat lights up just like red everywhere because like elf. Like,
yep.
It's crazy. Anyway, sorry. Go.
That's okay. It's all right. I just need to have a scene now where there's like an elf and a kobold and a small blue bird, and then a robot, I guess, for Dave. All right, and they're all riding bicycles. So you push through. So I guess here's the question: what's everybody else doing? Are you trying to stay hidden? Are you following Gravaris? Gravaris, you push through this section of brush, right? This kind of barrier at the top of the hill. And there's a wide glade ahead of you, and about 100 feet into the glade, down this hill, this relatively like thinly wooded hill, you can see the elven settlement of Greenhall. So, do you leave the other people at behind this sort of tree cover and go up by yourself, or does everybody come up together, or are some people going to try to hide? What is the plan?
I can only speak for Gravaris.
Yes.
That's the rules of the game.
Yep.
And so Gravaris just like walks to this place. Like I just go there.
Okay.
And I sort of look very calm and like,
okay.
I just epic adventurer walk my way down there.
Okay.
I think that knowing what we discussed like before when we met Sorellis, I think Oleander would choose to like, be not horrible and like stay back.
Okay.
Until like something happens. Yeah.
All right. Lane, Anastasia?
Lane is going with Gravaris.
I would take direction. Like, I could either go, but I basically don't know if I would be received well, but I do speak Elven. So, I don't know.
So you could say some very rude things to these elves.
I mean, theoretically, yeah.
I'd say stay here and stay safe. I'll let Gravaris do the talking, but I don't want to let him go in alone.
All right, fine. I'll stay here.
Okay. So the two of you, the human and half-elf members of the party, the slightly more presentable part of the party, starts heading down the hill towards this wood elf settlement. And in the meantime, in Undercommon, Cerulus turns to you and says quietly, he says, I don't understand why you're doing this.
Doing what?
Traveling with them, helping the humans. Why? And when he says humans, he doesn't, it loosely translates as humans, but it's really like surface potential slave race. Like he's not, it's not a term that one uses in Undercommon to describe humans politely.
I don't think there probably is a term to describe.
There probably isn't. No. Yeah. Like, yeah.
And Oleander like takes a look at him and she's just like, you're not the only person that's not welcome back in the Underdark. Why else would I be traveling on the surface? Did you never suspect anything? I'm not welcome there.
He looks at you, and it doesn't come as a surprise to him or anything. You're not making any sort of revelation, but he says, well, I didn't mean to suggest that you return to the Underdark, just that, well, certainly you could do better. And Oleander, you notice they're talking, and then he looks at you, and then he looks back at her.
Oh, at Anastasia?
Yeah, at Anastasia, sorry, yeah. Yeah, they're speaking a language you don't understand, and then he's...
Wait,
yeah,
they're speaking Undercommon?
They're speaking Undercommon, yeah. So he says something,
I am just
pauses,
sitting there with...
looks at you, and then looks back at her and then finishes his sentence.
If that were a shot in a movie, it would go like this. Like, the two of them are talking in the foreground. He looks at me, the focus changes, you see me in the background, and I'm just sitting there cross-legged with this huge tome open on my lap, like... doing that kind of thing. I don't care what they're talking about. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Is he implying that Oleander should roll with him?
I don't know what he's implying yet. I mean, I know what he's implying, but maybe you don't.
Now, she takes a second and she does look at Anastasia and she like scoffs a little bit, like, right, that small, tiny scaled thing. And
Who used to be a half elf that you knew?
yeah, I'm forgetting that willingly. You're a kobold now. That's what you are. Yeah, she gathering means, perhaps, or maybe some other reason. What does it matter to you?
He just shakes his head and he says, I've spent a long time alone, separate from creatures like that. And he means the whole party, not just Anastasia.
Damn, Sarah, so rude.
And he says, for good reason. They mistrust and abuse us at best and try to kill us at worst. Are these things your friends? They should be serving you. There's an order to things. I don't understand you.
Chains are meant to be broken, as are those that would forge them. I wish no one to serve me unless they want to. These people, they protect me, and I have their back as well. Perhaps that's a relationship you don't understand, but it is how things are.
He smirks at you, and he says, you can't be serious. You owe them your loyalty? What are they, your friends? If it came down to it, if you had to sacrifice yourself for one of them, do you really think you would?
No.
I thought not. So why pretend?
Pretend? It suits me. Right now, in the moment, this situation is one that suits me. Why do I need to abandon it when nothing's wrong with it? Perhaps when it comes to it and there is a danger, I will leave. They will die. I will not be hurt by it. Why does it matter that I travel with them now?
It's unbecoming.
Unbecoming of what?
He just he gestures at you. He says, you can do better. That's
Can
all.
I?
He nods. Of course.
You live on the surface, but I don't think you understand how they receive people like us. I don't think that I could do much better.
He says, exile or no, you're better than they are. You know this. They should know it as well.
I don't know what you're getting at, Cerulus.
He just, he shakes his head and he turns to walk away. Like he's turning to finish the conversation. He says, or he's decided that he doesn't want to talk about it anymore, but he turns around and says, it's just embarrassing.
The more I know you, the less I like you.
He looks over his shoulder and kind of smolders frustratedly at you, and he says, "You don't have to like me. That's not how these things work." And then he goes to stare moodily off into the distance.
They'll never out edgelord me.
Never.
I'm just sitting there quietly muttering in Draconic as I read along.
Awesome. Okay, so meanwhile, at the hill, as the two of you start to head down towards this village, so you're entering. There's a wide glade of. I don't know how much Lane and Graveris appreciate natural beauty, but there is certainly a large supply of it here. There are tall and ancient trees that have been grown here, and partway up the trunks of these trees, spiraling staircases and shelters seem to emerge from the bark and wood, as if grown like a branch or a leaf from the tree itself. You can see a handful of elves meandering about their daily life at the sort of base of the tree. They have some little farmland that they've used to grow some some minor crops, but for the most part, they're standing around talking or whatever, and you can see them. And I think that unless you're making an effort to hide yourselves, someone spots you. They have scouts, and
Yeah, I'm not trying to stay hidden.
you're not trying to say it, and you're just walking out.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So you just walk out, and yeah, definitely someone notices you, and they the sort of common folk, they scatter, right? They flee up the stairs or disappear behind the trees, and you see a group of wood elves, about a half dozen strong, approaching with bows and swords drawn. They're coming towards you. So you're coming down this hill, and they're walking towards you. And they're definitely dressed for combat. They're wearing leather armor that is patterned both in color and in shape to look like leaves and bark. Like it would be excellent for camouflage. And they all have long dark green cloaks. And they're approaching you with some haste and tension.
Yeah, and I'm just like looking calm,
Okay.
walking up to them. And once we're in like a distance where I can greet them,
Yeah.
just,
Yeah, they stop about 30 feet and immediately like draw their bows, point arrows at you. And the one in the lead, a woman with a sword, a long sort of leaf-shaped blade, she points it at you and says in Elvish, she says, "You should not be here. Leave this place and take the stink of town with you. Do it quickly, or I'll have my men kill you where you stand."
I have no intention of wasting any of your time.
She scowls, and
you-
she says, "You already have."
Yes, and I apologize. But we're here with some business. Business which we have been compelled to settle with you. Once we have done that, we will go, meaning no harm to you and yours.
She scowls and she says, "You've done us harm merely by setting foot in our forest, human."
Well now. Can't be helped, given the circumstances. I am here to collect some strays who wandered in. I am trying to do right by the arrangements that have been struck previously. Keep the peace. Prevent any disturbances to you.
Can you make a persuasion check? If you're gonna cast guidance first, let me know before you do any rolling.
Because guidance is like, I'm obviously casting a spell,
You're
right?
like moving your hands and saying stuff.
Kind of uncouth.
Yeah. How long does guidance last? Oh, actually, fuck it. You don't even need mask. Fuck that guy. That guy's a chump.
I feel like I said the right things to these people.
Yeah. So she won't have you murdered where you stand. So one of the men like next to her says like something quietly to her and like pulls the bow and like kind of leans forward and she puts her hand up like no, don't kill him just yet. And she says you've come to collect something. We have nothing of yours.
Recently, one and then others from among the villagers came into the woods. There has been one seeking to contact you, but his business is sinister. If he has reached you, I would like to offer a counterpoint. If he has not, I simply wish to retrieve him and those who went in looking for him. It may be that others who dwell in these forests found them first, but we thought it fair and wise to come and parley with you. Let our business be known.
She sheaths her sword and starts closing the distance. One of the same guy that was like, "Oh, let me kill him." He says something like he lowers his bow enough and kind of leans forward and gives her this look like, "What are you doing?" And she snaps at him. She's just like, "Shut up." And she sheaths her sword and she walks up to you. You still have your like hood up.
No, I'm hood down.
Okay, yeah. So she gets like fairly close to you, like within like more reasonable conversational distance. Where are you standing, Lane? Like right beside Graveris, or?
Like slightly behind, off to the side, like within. Yeah, I'm like in the next square, 5 feet, maybe 10 feet maximum.
Okay.
He's taking.
Yeah, I mean, I assume that generally when it's you and another party member, you're standing close enough to them so that you can do your thing if it goes bad.
Yeah, like that's why I'm here ostensibly this time.
Yeah. So she walks up and she like gives you a long like look up and down. Her eyes lingering on the like pointed tips of your ears and on the features of your face, and she kind of like makes a look of like somewhere between pity and disgust. And she looks at your boots, and then looks at you, and she says, "You're far from home. You stink of flan." She like spits on the ground.
Well, Flan is not home either.
She shakes her head, and she says, "But you don't belong here."
There's nowhere I belong. My business is to get to places I don't.
She kind of scowls at you, and she says, "We have nothing that belongs to you or the villagers. We've seen no one who's come to speak with us. And if we had, they'd be dead."
Yes, well, having no way of knowing without coming to seek you, I will consider my business concluded. Can I, what is it, insight to know if she's telling the truth?
Yeah, absolutely.
I got a 14.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, what do you just want to know if she's like lying about not having seen?
Is she just lying to my fucking face?
No,
about...
she's not. I mean, there is evidence that they saw the villagers because they killed one with arrows. But she's not. Yeah, no one has come to like talk to them. As far as she knows, you're just more annoying like village folk. That she's giving you a chance to like fuck off, but. Probably because you are much tougher looking, the two of you, than the ones before. Like, she's not intimidated, but she's like, maybe I can just scare them off instead of having to make this into a thing.
And yeah, so Graveris will say, in that case, if not you all, then I think we both know who has found these stray villagers.
And she grins when you don't say her name, like the name of the person that you're referring to. Like she grins and like that, she kind of like nods at, like, "Oh, well, you're that smart at least. Good job."
And so I speak Sylvan.
Mm-hmm.
And is there a word in Sylvan for what Jenny Greenteeth is?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, so I use that word.
Mm-hmm.
And I imagine like Sylvan being a very like sing-song, like always speak in rhyme kind of language. So there's like a little like limerick almost that defines.
Yeah, I like that.
So Graveris kind of like says that and shrugs.
Yeah.
I know better than to stick my nose where it doesn't belong, or at least where it'll get bitten off.
And she says, well, if she has your friends, you won't be getting them back. Not in one piece, at least. She might feed them to you, but you're not going to get them back alive. Don't be a fool. Go back to your city.
Well, I have one last piece of business then.
She raises an eyebrow.
One of these men from the village, it's not really from the village. He was an agent of the dragon cults. And he was being sent here to dissuade you and your people from getting involved because they want to destroy Flan and lay waste to this whole area. Make it a nest for dragons again. They would tell you that this is in your best interests. they would leverage your distaste for humans to achieve this end. I suspect that you are all much smarter than to fall for such tricks. I know a thing or two about tricks, you see.
She she scowls. She's like scowling when you, as soon as you start talking about dragons, yeah, she got a look on her face like, and she says the deeper parts of the forest where the scaled ones dwell have been dangerous of late. Strange creatures. She mentioned, she says, she uses the elven word for displacer beast. But she says, we spotted a pack of whatever these creatures, not a day's travel from Greenhall.
I also spotted them.
What you say makes sense, but we understand that there's a relationship between the villages and the forest. What we did to those villagers, they deserved. They broke the law. Just the same as if we were to wander into their town. But the witch, she revels in destruction. She was part of the pact a long time ago, but has gone mad with age, if she ever was sane to begin with. If this dragon cultist... And then she says something that in Elvish is like a statement of disbelief. Like she couldn't believe that such a thing would exist. Like, why would you ever worship a dragon? That's crazy.
Yeah.
She says this dragon cultist, if he came to the woods and managed to evade our patrols, he wasn't coming to speak with the elves of Greenhall. You may need to go to the witch's house. After all...
It is as I have thought, then. If not you, he will treat with her. And his desperate pleading might find some purchase in her mind. Just the sort of thing she would like, yes?
She nods.
And something that might end poorly for you.
A hag is bad enough. A dragon too, but the both working together.
Indeed.
She looks back over her shoulder, and all the elves are like scowling at you and still have their bows like pointed. And she says, I cannot offer you aid. The old laws still stand. You have no right to be here, and it must be known that we drove you off. But I have no animosity for you now. If you live to escape this forest, then the gods are good. But I fear if you go to truck with Jenny Greenteeth, and she like says it out loud, like full, like on purpose, that I think you go to your death. Are the two of you alone? And she looks at you, like she looks over at you, Lane. And Lane, you understand this conversation, right?
Nope, don't speak of them.
Nice. Okay. So yeah, I guess so. From Lane, from your perspective, they've been talking. Graveris is doing the Graveris thing, like the body language and the way that they're speaking is pretty much what you expect. But at some point, she's sort of softened, and she looks over you almost like sadly, like almost like one might look at a relative who's just been told that they're very sick. There's a bit of pity and a softness to her features, and in that moment, that like harshness of her attitude sort of falls away a little bit. And we get a glimpse of the sort of eternal beauty of the elves, right? Like she has this beatific look that you like find yourself being caught off guard by. And yeah, she looks at you like really like sad, and you can feel her feelings in your heart. And then for Graveris, it's just a conversation. Like the two of you are talking, but then she turns her elf mojo on you, and it's just like gives you this look, and suddenly you feel sad too. And then she looks back at Graveris to get your answer. Lane, do you respond at all? Do you like what do we see Lane do when that happens?
It definitely catches him off guard, just because I don't think maybe possibly ever before, with a couple of exceptions, like hasn't felt that kind of like admiration for beauty. That's like not something he's allowed himself to be interested in at all.
Mm.
So it's like it's weird. And he's perhaps reminded of some people he knew long ago.
Mm-hmm.
You just have like the flashback to like the last time you were sad about an elf was Nimith dying in some dungeon being killed by pixies.
Wow, he wasn't sad about Saris. I see how it is. It's great. Thank
Sar-
you.
You didn't
to
have
be
to watch
fair,
it.
to
I
be
didn't
fair,
know you that well.
Saris was an asshole. Like, let's be super real about this. Saris was an asshole.
And so Graveris will just like keep the conversation going.
Mhm.
I'm just like, no, I'm not alone. My companions are a colorful bunch, but well, that's what it comes to in this line of work. Not many are willing to do this type of thing. Outcasts like me are what you're left with.
She scowls and she says, the Quivering Forest has seen its fair share of adventurers, and if your companions are more distasteful than the two of you, you made a good choice not bringing them here before me. I can't promise you safety in the woods. You're outsiders here. By all rights, you should be feeding the trees with your dead bodies, but I won't kill you. And she says that like it's some like intensely like kind act.
It's appreciated.
She says, she says if you're looking for any of those who came from the villages, you can go home. They're all dead. But this dragon cultist was not among them. The villagers that we slew were known to us, and they died as was our right. And you can tell the villagers that. And if they have a problem, well, they can come here and they can talk to me about it personally. But it sounds like this is no mission of vengeance for you.
I don't particularly care one way or another. Death comes for everyone, sooner or later.
Speak for yourself. She grins.
Later, for some, yes. I plan to outrun it.
She nods. Well, if it's outrunning you're trying to do, you're running in the wrong direction. And she like looks over her shoulder, kind of to the south, and she says, "The place you seek," and she points. She says, "Go that way. The closer you get, the stranger the woods will become. She'll know you're coming. You'll find your way there."
I nod. I hope that for both our sakes, my task is successful. Thank you for speaking with me.
She nods and she says, she casts another quick, like you see her eyes flick to your ears, and then she says, "You know it's not too late. You could just," and then she looks at Lane. Says, "You could just abandon him here. We'll bury him for you. You could find somewhere else to be. Don't squander half the gift you were given."
I have been given many gifts. And I smile in this like kind of sinister way.
Yeah. I think
There's like a little bit of the like mask vibes going
and
on.
I think her like attitude kind of shifts a little bit, and she like takes it like a half a step back, and she's like, okay, I don't feel comfortable with this conversation anymore. Like, so she takes this half step back and stops being quite so smug.
And then I allude to this like, because I imagine Elvin has a lot of like Tanagra type stuff going on in it.
Yeah.
And so I make some reference to like, I say like, my road is a winding one. It has many bends and many shortcuts. And this is like a reference to some like old like Fae story.
Yeah.
That like refers to Mask. And so I just say like, I can get my way around all kinds of trouble. And in the end, it's really me that's the trouble that they should be running from.
Nice.
And I walk into the woods.
Yeah, I wonder. I'm just looking up right now if there's like an elven, like a trickster, like deity. among the, what are they called, the Sildarine. There is, yeah, Erevan Illiser, the trickster god. Cool. Yeah, so there's some implication there that that you serve that power. And she kind of gives you a distrustful look, but also like a respectful one, where she's just like, cool, I'm glad you're leaving now. Like before
you're one of those people. Okay,
Yeah,
get out of here.
exactly. Yeah. Before you were just like an intruder, and now you're like, oh, maybe you're here to like bring chaos to our doorstep. Either way, which is that way.
Well, and this is the thing too, is that the hag is probably like, peripherally, like, could have been a servant of Mask at some point as well, or like might pay homage. It's kind of like some house cleaning for Mask.
Yeah.
Okay, this one's not funny anymore. Can you go fix that?
Yeah. So she tells you, I think before she leaves, she responds more or less in kind with like the punchline of like a story about Erevan Illiser and how like something about a story about luck, right? And she basically is telling you like, I'd wish you good luck, but I know you're just gonna steal it, something like that,
Yeah.
And she turns around and starts walking back towards the other elves. And leaves you and Lane on the hillside. So if you don't have it already, mark inspiration. Lane, you too.
Woo.
So do the two of you talk on your way back up the hill? Like, Lane, do you ask what that was about, or do you just like walk quietly?
No, I think the only thing I say is like, that was well done.
One wrong word, and there would have been a lot of arrows in us.
Yeah, and he just like nods.
Okay. So while all of that was happening, Anastasia and Oleander, what were you up to?
Pouting.
Uh-huh.
I think I was busy. Like I said, I was kind of studying, but also like through sort of sitting there and just like talking into this book, like mumbling to myself along with like what it says. I'm sort of like in Draconic, and like with the occasional word in Infernal, I guess it is, like spattered in there, kind of saying like, of course. Yes, you're not really listening to me probably right now. You turned me into this stupid form after a bad conversation, and then you don't tell me anything anymore, help me out with any of this stuff. We have a witch problem. You're a devil. Maybe you could help out. Like a little bit of the like impeaching my, or beseeching my patron.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not as ritually as they would like, but in the same way that you would, talk to your god. Anastasia is kind of going like, Lorcan, please, anything that would be helpful would be nice.
Yeah, and I think you turn the page, and you see an illuminated page that you don't recognize, and this happens sometimes. Sometimes the book just has new pages in it you didn't see before, and this one is and I'm imagining one of those like sort of black and white, like medieval kind of like monk illuminations, right? Very like two-dimensional and not very well drawn, and it's an old woman, a wizened old woman. And she's standing in front of a cauldron. She's got like an apron on, and she has in her hand, she's dangling over the cauldron, a little lizard person. She's holding them by one foot, and it bears a strange, if crude, resemblance to you. And he's like dangling it over the cauldron, and the little lizard has like little lizard tears falling into the cauldron, and the witch is like holding it, like kind of grinning and peering at it.
Oh, good. Yes, thank you. Very like the sort of response that's like, oh, you think I'm going to die? Good, yes, perfect. good.
Yeah, and like as you're flipping, so you turn, and on the next page there's like a series of 3 little like illuminations with text in the middle, and the text is all the usual like praise to Lorcan and like, you know, what you would expect from the book. The illustrations, though, the first one is like a beautiful young maiden. She has like flowers in her hair, and she's standing in front of a little cottage, and there's smoke drifting up from the chimney of the cottage, and it's a very like welcoming scene. Like she is this like young, sort of vibrant, beautiful woman. And then in the second one, you see like a really like obvious caricature of like Lane and Gravaris, and they're sitting at this table, and the woman has one hand on each of their shoulders, and they look like they're drawn like they look like children, like they have much bigger eyes than usual, and there's food in front of them, and they're both just like shoveling this food happily into their mouth, and they have like food spilling down onto their shirt, and she's just like smiling and has her hands on their shoulders. And then the next one is of a like a graveyard, and there's 2 graves, and there's Oleander, like a really crude drawing of Oleander, and she's just like crying, these big fat tears like coming out of her face in front of this grave.
All right. That's a little better. Like hoping for more.
Like turning the next page. So on the last page, there is one of the many images of Lorcan. What does this one look like? Like what is this portrayal of him?
All right, Lorcan is a Cambion, which I'm not entirely sure what that means.
I think that they're like handsome blue skin.
I believe that they're like
devil
half.
dudes.
They're like half something, but they're like a lot of it. You know, like they're not entirely devil or entirely demon, whichever they are.
Let's see.
And they tend to be like middling in terms of rank. I know that he's from the 6th circle of hell. That's what I know about him.
Excellent. Okay. All right. Let's take a look. Let's see what the Forgotten Realms wiki has to say about Cambion. Cambion is generally considered to be the result of breeding a devil with a mortal. The offspring of a mortal male and a succubus is a different creature. Cambion is generally any humanoid creature that is at least half fiend. So not a tiefling, like more demonic than a tiefling. So man, Lorcan would have had to have busted his ass to become like a prince of hell, right? Like it's an inspiring tale. So yeah, like definitely like what you would expect from kind of like a normal portrayal of like the devil. Like he's usually portrayed with like deep red skin and horns coming out of his head, but you know, generally humanoid features, sometimes with wings, sometimes with a tail, sometimes without. He takes many shapes. But in this one, he's sitting at a table. You can see him across from that same beautiful woman, but the back of her head is like a hideous hag face, and the front is like a beautiful woman face. And she's sitting at the table across from Lorcan, and she has her hands like pinned to the table with spikes, and there are like imps like crawling all over her body, and he's smiling, and there's a stew in front of her with like bits of human like flesh, there's like a head floating in it and like hands and stuff. And Lorcan is just like grinning and kind of like has one hand on his chin, like, no, go ahead, eat up. So that's what Lorcan has to say to you.
Okay.
About this.
Well, that's lovely.
I'm sorry, who was changed to the thing?
She's the beautiful woman / hag that was in the previous 2 illustrations. Is like her hands nailed to the table, and she doesn't look happy about it. And Lorcan is just like, hee.
I would like to invite her over.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Lorcan, side note, lore-wise, Lorcan is very big on collecting sets of warlocks and like making pacts with like many of the same bloodline and like that kind of thing.
That's cool. That's good to know.
Like his history. He's a collect them all kind of guy. So cool. After seeing that last page, I close the book and await the return of my companions, I guess. Maybe talk to Oleander if she's nearby, but if she's busy pouting...
Oleander's pouting nearby.
I'm pouting nearby.
I was gonna say, so Oleander, what kind of pout is this? Is this a leave me alone pout, or a like, I'm pouting, please notice that I'm pouting and say something to me?
I mean, I think she's like grumbling under her breath and like going through her bag and like trying to like, I don't know, like still like untying clothes and like she's making busy but like
Okay. All right.
upset about it. Like she's just
So once I'm done with my reading, I look over to you and I say, just side note, been talking, and avoid trusting any good-looking,
Do you look at Ceralis when she says that?
individuals that may come our way. The hag is probably going to. Ooh, should I say that? Never mind. The hag is probably going to take on some illusionary form or something like that. And don't let the others, or us for that matter, but I saw the others specifically, don't let them eat anything. Eating things that this person has is bad.
is that all?
Yes.
And then she just like violently sharpens her scimitar. Ugh.
I'll let you get back to your chores.
Okay, so you just return to grumbling.
Yes.
Graveris and Lane, you return from your parley with the elves. The bushes sort of like rattle a little bit, and you notice Ceralis, like reach for his bow, grab an arrow, and then realize that it's Lane and Graveris, and kind of relax again and set it down. Graveris, what do you say to your companions when you return?
I'm looking at you eagerly awaiting news.
I love the idea of like eager, like little kobold, like.
There's sort of a slightly wider eye, and like that like you can see the like crocodile teeth, of the.
Listen, if I had to hang out with
little
anybody
smile.
in this party, any of these characters in real life, it'd definitely be Anastasia.
Oh, really?
She's
That's
totally the
awesome.
nicest. Like
She'd be
you'd be the
fun.
most fun to hang out with.
Yeah.
The rest of us are too edgy.
Which is funny because her alignment is lawful evil.
Oh yeah.
But I actually don't think she's been acting that way since the transmutation, so to speak.
Mhm.
Only because it's a lot easier to just be killed for no reason as a kobold.
Well, the trick with lawful evil is that you recognize there's a hierarchy to society. You will use it to your advantage, but when you're at the bottom, you have to treat it with like respect until you can climb it, right? Like
Exactly.
when you're at the bottom of the ladder, you kick the people underneath you to get up.
Which is literally no one right now.
Exactly. Yeah. So you can still be lawful evil. It's less that Anastasia is like nice and friendly, and more that she's obsequious, right? That like you can't be a jerk because everyone can step on you, or that's your perception, right? Because you're a little kobold. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. So eagerly awaiting news.
Yeah, so Graveris just says, all the villagers are dead. The only one left alive is our dragon cult friend. And you can imagine where he's found his way to. Because he's not here.
Yes. Well, I also received some news. My patron has seen it fit to inform me of a few things. Don't eat anything when we go and meet her. She will look a lot better than she actually does. Don't fall for the charms, men and all that. What else?
And I like quirk an eyebrow.
Who is your patron exactly? I don't think this has ever come up before.
Oh, yes.
And like Graveris tries to just like head this one off at the pass. I'm just like, Lane, let's focus on the task at hand. Anastasia, please, go into it later.
Sorry? What?
We
Should
have
I?
work to do. We don't need a history lesson. And I like glare at Lane.
Very well. Don't eat anything. Keep an eye on Ceralis. I have not seen him except for maybe a grave. So if we don't want him dead, probably keep an eye. Anything else?
Did the elves tell you where to find the witch?
Oh yes, the elves, of course.
We just follow the insanity in the deep forest and
Well,
should be a part of it.
Well, then I don't think we need a guide anymore, do we? And she like looks pointedly at Cyrillus.
He's been listening, but making it look like he's not listening. Like he's just standing nearby, kind of like, I'm looking out for danger, but he's listening to your conversation. But he doesn't take the bait if you like glare at him.
Cyrillus, you've held up your end of the bargain. We will not ask you to go any further with us if you don't want to.
Yeah, he stops and he looks over his shoulder, and then turns slowly to approach you, and he says, if you're going to see the witch, I'll have no part of it. Some of us value our lives.
And some of us
but I'm being paid. Sorry.
Some of us recognize there's more value to trying to attempt what's good for others than looking always to ourselves. It's a shame. Be safe.
Some of us recognize that we are long-lived, and if something does not come for us now, it may come for us later with more power and be harder to take on.
All right, Elf, finish the set. Come on, we all want to have.
Well, I was gonna say, so the two of you both like coming down on him is like kind of mean, because it's like, yeah, cool, like you're a drow and you're a human, and I don't get to be either of those things, and you're both lecturing me about how like I should care about other people.
I was going to say, and some of us do things that keep us alive. So, good job. Be on your way. You've done admirably, bringing us here and so forth.
Well,
Yeah.
and she like makes the little like fuck off hand motion.
Yeah, he looks at the group of you, and he shakes his head, and then I think he leaves. I think he heads off into the woods with a swoosh of his cloak.
Not as good as
Or Leanne
Lane's
is just
push,
like,
though.
No loose ends, and shoots him in the
She's not that mad.
Cyrillus is Elven for Randy. So he
No. When he turns around, you see all of his pretty arrows that he has in
Oh.
quiver that could be yours.
Those pretty arrows.
All you have to do is put a couple ugly arrows in him, and then nice arrows come out.
Nah, I can't kill him.
Yeah, because he's too much of a hunky
I know.
beefcake.
Hate him to leave, but love to watch him walk away. Is that the line?
That's the line, yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, did he have a nice butt, Adam?
His cape definitely
Of course he
terminates.
fucking does.
His cape definitely terminates just above the butt line. It definitely does. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
There's
Drow
nice
booty.
butt.
Dave.
Pretty well butt.
A
Excellent.
plus, excellent butt. All right.
Okay, I'll go
Anyway, fuck
northwest.
off, scared drow.
The highest ranking for butt is clearly B plus, Adam.
Right, fair. All right, so you're alone.
I'm just imagining the mental process. Sorry, side note. Just imagining the mental process on that for Anastasia being something like no tail. Wait, why did I think that?
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. All right, so the group of you are now you're alone in the woods. It's like mid-afternoon. It's cold. You're in the shade of these ancient old trees, and you have a general direction to where the home of the witch Jenny Greenteeth is.
Well, let's go.
To adventure, friends! Forward into the woods!
I follow
I'm gonna
along
play
in reverse.
All right. Okay. So you're gonna head in that direction. Okay. Somebody make a survival check. Who's leading this gallivant into the woods?
I mean, I got the head nod from the elves, so I'll lead, and Mask will help. I feel like Mask is going to be a good guide for spoopy Fey Woods as well.
Okay.
There's a lot of like, all right, we're trying to go that way, so we're going to go this way for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do weird, windy stuff. So it's a survival roll.
It is, please. Yes.
Is someone going to help me?
If you're open to it, it's totally fine.
Okay, someone is helping me.
All right. Layton's gonna.
I don't know who it is.
It sounds like it's
Their help is meaningless. I get a 17 without their help.
So does Lane try to help, and you're like, nah, I got this.
I mean,
Mine
I
was the
take the
15.
help. I'm just being silly because the dice came up with
I know.
my number.
Yeah. I mean, but that's
Okay.
that's the thing though, is that you can like looking at helping dice in like Torchbearer, you can tell whether or not advantage helped here, and it did not.
I guess that's true.
Right. The dice are saying something about the situation.
So I think maybe, I don't know. What do you think, Dave? Is it like Lane is very much into the like direct route, and Graveris has to be like, no, we have to do this like weird swervy thing.
Yeah, he's one of those people who has that kind of uncanny sense of like cardinal directions wherever they are. So I'm like,
Right.
we should go that way, and you're like, however, I think there's a shortcut, and we end up like going in the wrong direction for a bit and getting to the same place faster.
Yeah, we like see a hill in the distance, and then we're like, okay, cool, we're gonna just do this weird thing, and when we're there, yeah,
Yeah, I like that.
cool. So that's what happens, Adam.
All right. Okay. So you it's much slower going than it was with Ceralis. You know, you're getting caught up on terrain. Like you're good at maneuvering, right? You don't get lost, you get them there. But yeah, it's the woods just seem like harsher to navigate without a trained woodsman to lead you through them.
Why do I have the image of the hag as being a giant anglerfish? Ceralis just being the little dongle.
I mean, that could very well have been a thing.
I mean, why are you talking about Ceralis' little dongle? That's all I have to say.
I'm sure his dongle is of a reasonable size.
Let's not judge Ceralis. All right. So yeah, I mean, this would be the scene where, you know, we cut to the hag's house, and she's like petting his hair, and she's like, "Yes, you've done good, my pretty. Bring them to me." But no. So you travel through the harsh woods, and night falls. It gets colder. We can see your breath in the air. And yeah, and it gets dark, and you're in a particularly like tangled part of the wood. Roots all grown together, sharp thorn bushes that you have to cut away or climb around, and it's you keep getting your cloak caught on stuff. Yeah, it just seems like it's real hard going, and then it gets dark. You know more or less where you are. You could get back to Greenhall. You could navigate eventually back out to the town, but you have no idea how far from the hovel you are from where the witch is.
Yeah.
Why are we doing this again? Like, I've been in a horrible mood all day.
And I assume we've like stopped at this point, and we're like setting up camp, and that's when you start complaining.
I mean, I've probably been complaining the whole goddamn time.
Well, I believe that the entire reason for our current adventure is there is a member of the dragon cult who may be consorting with a witch of some kind, and the two of them mixing their powers together is probably not a good thing for us. This dragon cultist is clearly a mage of some standing, as they had an imp for a familiar, and that doesn't just happen, let me tell you.
Anastasia, I think that was a rhetorical question.
No, it wasn't. What are we doing here? Like,
Never mind. Perhaps your memory is...
not in the sense of the task we have, but in the sense of why does the task have value? Like, who gives
Well,
a damn if Flan is wiped off the map? That place is disgusting anyway.
It's not about Flan itself. It's about the dragons driving a wedge into the stonework of civilization. Flan is the easiest crack for them to pick at, but it won't stop at Flan. There won't be anywhere left to run if they get their way.
I could think of the place.
Oh, really?
Worse things down below, I think.
Maybe for you. And she like ignores the fact that like she was thrown out, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, we don't know that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I, alternately, have very few options, so I would like for the city not to fall over, personally. So, dragons would be bad for that, which means that dragon cultists would also be bad for that.
On like the words, like talking about dragons, there's like a sense of like, ooh, yeah, dragons. You know,
You
like,
can't help but have admiration.
yeah, there's like a little bit of
A little shiver of delight.
oh, it's like when you talk about gods, you know, like to a kobold.
Mhm.
Would be bad for that whole civilization. thing. So I think what I'm trying to get at here is this forest will be better off when the witch is gone, if we can accomplish that. And if not, finding out what the dragon cultist is doing is at least something.
Yes, well, I doubt we can fight this witch, nor do I intend to. But we might be able to offer her something better than what this cultist is offering.
She's been in this forest for so long, has not pushed out of it, has not been pushed out of it. I don't think that she is our enemy, more like a stumbling block. If we can just get that stupid, what is it, warlock, wizard thing, guy, Grangle.
That stupid Grangle. He is a Grangle. That's his class. He's a 5th level Grangle.
Yes. If we can just get that stupid human out of her grasp, then our task will be finished. Is that it?
Hopefully. We need to give her something to just, that is a better game than laying waste to Flan with the dragons.
Do you have any ideas about what that might be?
You know what's way more interesting than taking down a city that's super easy to disrupt? Screwing with the dragon cult.
Yes, we just need to convince her that it's more fun to pick on dragons than the world of men. Which, to be fair, it is.
Dragons are more intelligent prey, but humans are so easy to pick on. And she like sidelines Lane a little.
Yeah, I think Lane is very deliberately ignoring you all at this point.
And
What? I've been.
gonna walk over.
It's very difficult sometimes to be a paladin and to deal with you people.
Graveris walks over to Oleander, and I like rattle her a bit by her like front of her armor.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, look, we're here to do work, and if you don't want to, we can talk about that when the job is done. In the meantime, no complaining.
And she like
Except Lane.
stops, but she's basically just having a fit, and like you're just like, stop.
Yeah, I'm just gonna like call you on your shit.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So she just like lets out a breath and like rolls her eyes and like shuts up.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm like close. It's like, good. We need you focused. Watching our backs.
Mm. And she smirks a bit.
And I go back to like whatever it was I was doing.
All right. Yeah. So you can press on, or you can rest here. It's not a great place to rest. Like you're not gonna find like a flat area to like lay down, but you're starting to get tired. You've been walking all day.
Yeah, and we can like sleep in shifts.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So you rest through the night. Wake up the next day, but because of the canopy and the gray, it's just like a lighter shade of gray in the woods. The bark on these trees is like thick and black. The leaves are like very, very dark green, and everything seems to be like wet. There's a lot of mushrooms growing in this part of the forest, and you feel like if one of you was a dwarf, you'd be able to tell for sure. But you have this suspicion that you're going down into like a gulch or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Graveris is like has some of the soil in his fingers and like smells it, and it's just like, this is promising.
Yeah.
How so? Exactly.
The deepest, darkest belly of the forest.
Is that what they said?
Find her.
The elves, I mean.
Where else would she be? The forest will bend to her, not the other way around. And I like walk into the, deeper in.
Private Anastasia.
So are we not?
That's kind of awesome.
Are we not resting?
No, you rested. This is in the morning.
Oh, okay, morning time, but it's still dark and gross. And, okay.
Very well, onwards.
Okay. All right. So you press on. About 15 minutes after you start heading into the woods, Graveris, you have a sword, right? Short sword.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, your sword belt falls off. Like it just fall. Like you take a step and something jostles it, and it just plunk falls on the floor of the forest. Just tumbles to the ground.
Yeah, and I like stop.
Uh-huh.
But like, if anyone were looking at Rivera's face, they would see a smile.
Mm-hmm.
And I like bend down slowly to pick it up, and I'm just muttering in Sylvan. I'm trying to like remember
Mm-hmm.
various stories about.
Yeah, you crouch down to pick it up, and what feels like a sudden like a gust of wind or something blows your cloak up over your head.
Yeah.
So everybody sees this. They see Graveris bend over to pick up the sword, and then just floop, the like cloak flips up over his head.
And I'll say a greeting in Sylvan.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, rather than saying hello, it's like a do you want to play?
Mm-hmm.
But then I continue and say like, but I have a different game in mind.
Make a persuasion check. Oh, dear.
I get a 7.
Okay.
And I don't think I have time to cast my mask magic.
No. So I think that you say that, and everybody else sees this. It happens behind Graveris. You see there's a sort of sparkling in the air, a sort of silvery reflective light, and then on a nearby branch, you see a tiny little creature. It's about like, I don't know, a foot tall. Looks like a doll, really, like a foot tall. Its skin is this like very, very dark black. Like a night sky black. Its eyes, it has no pupils, but its eyes glow slightly. It's got sort of white glowing orbs for eyes. It's wearing like a tiny little, like it looks like a top hat. It's got a little top hat on, and then like long white hair, and is wearing a like a noble's coat with little brass buttons. There's a little watch chain, and it's wearing little like tiny little like riding boots. And you see it flitter into existence on this branch, and it has a set of what look like dragonfly wings, like kind of pale gray wings, and they're flickering a little, and little bits of motes of light are sort of drifting off of it as it settles on the branch. And it takes off its hat and like does a little bow and puts its hat back on, and it says in common. It says, well, you're very deep in the forest, aren't you?
Are you the ones that left the gifts for us?
No, those were my friends. They've all gone. Too frightening down here for them. But you're brave,
Not
aren't
for
you?
you.
You're not afraid for the darkness.
Nor am I.
I mean, it kind of like looks over the group.
I like stand up, putting my sword back on.
Mm-hmm.
And just say, I'm smart enough to be afraid. Stupid enough to come here anyways.
It laughs when you say that, and its laughter sounds like someone playing a xylophone made of glass. It says, "You're going to see the witch."
Yes.
One way or another.
Why?
And I like bow to it and introduce myself. She has something that we want to bargain for. A little man who got lost in the woods.
Did you happen to see him?
It scowls. It scowls and it says, well, call me old-fashioned, but I stay away from the witch if I can. You should too. More fun things to find in the woods. The dragons are waking up.
Yes.
Isn't that lovely?
It nods. It could very well be. Interesting, at least. Why are you going to see the witch? Does she have something for you? There are no men in the woods. It's the law.
Laws are made to be broken.
This one's more of a little worm wriggling in the toes of a dragon.
It squinches up its face, and it says, there was one like that. A worm, as you say. Old, ugly, unkind, no sense of humor whatsoever. It came to the woods. He didn't like our tricks. So we told the elves about him. And then he kind of makes a sad face and says, "It didn't go so well. The man killed them all. The elves, I mean. All at once. No fun in that."
He doesn't seem to have much of a sense of humor.
No.
I myself don't like that kind of person. That's why we're coming here. Find him, yes, but not rescue him.
And yeah, and the little creature looks at the group of you, and says to Graveris, "You don't make any sense."
I try not to. And I like wink at it.
Yeah, it grins. I like you. You have a good attitude. I'm sorry about the thing with your belt and your cloak. I was just trying to annoy you.
Just a little harmless fun. If we start getting into harmful fun, it'll be a different conversation.
Yeah, it laughs and says, "Well, if you're going to see the witch, there won't be any fun left for you at all. So enjoy it while you can."
Tell you what. If you have any interest in helping us find our way there, we could try to make it worth your while.
It scowls and it flies down from the branch to the ground. It's like hovering above the ground, and it looks up at you and says, "Find your way there. Well, you've already done. Look," and it points at the ground, and you can see that sort of like old rotting teeth poking up from the gums of the earth. You can see these broken like stones that are laid out in front of you in a line. And you were like about to cross them when it.
Yeah, we're like right at the threshold.
Yeah, you're right at the threshold of this like ring of stones, and it's on your side, and it says, "One more step, and that's it."
Well, then we best make our way.
Is she home?
No, it's always.
How long have you been in these woods? Long time?
It shrugs.
I suppose time is a bit of a different thing for you.
Yeah, and I think while you're talking, it's like flown back up onto the branch. And when you say that, it takes out its little pocket watch and like looks at it, like puts it away.
It seems that our mutual friend here has been at this for a while. There are some that think she's a little unhinged. What do you think?
She's no friend of ours. Old pact maker, yes. We keep our distance. Due respect. But she's cruel and old. Doesn't like jokes. Not ours, at least. Has tricks of her own. You're all in very great danger if you go to see her, but maybe if you're nice, she'll give you a present.
Well, what does she like? I don't want to come to her empty-handed.
It looks pointedly at Lane and says, "Handsome young men over for dinner."
Oh, yes. And I look at Anastasia and I'm just like remembering like what she said, like don't let them eat anything.
Yes, well, my friend Lane here has the utmost courtesy, raised as he was in the noble houses of Flam. And I like look at Lane.
Yeah, what's Lane's response to all this?
He's very, very uncomfortable with any fey creatures. But again, it's just in this kind of situation, we'll defer to Gravaris, whom I think he trusts most, to like not let him have enough time to get himself into trouble with his ideals and stuff and what he might like to do in a specific situation. So I think he like grimaces for a second and then he does like a very flourishing bow, like to illustrate the point.
Yeah. The little creature says to Gravaris, "Polite, yes, but this one doesn't like our kind. Not a bit. We've seen his dreams. Bad dreams. From another time. A different place."
Well, that's the magic of courtesy. It veils all such intentions and feelings. A mask to wear, that we may all seem kind in good company.
And it grins at you and says, I'm growing tired of talking to you, but I'll tell you this before you go. Don't be so brash. Your god is but a baby. She's older than it, I think. Be careful. Or don't. Whatever seems the most fun.
And I like, give it a nod or a little half bow or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and it disappears. It just like there's a little cloud of sparkles as it vanishes into the night.
Oh, I want to have sparkles.
That was so cute.
Pixies.
And so Graveris like brings everyone in for the little like huddle.
Yep.
Oh god, I'm imagining that. Like human, kobold. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess how comfortable is the party with Anastasia climbing all over them? And Anastasia, is that a thing you're likely to do in these situations?
I don't think Anastasia would necessarily do that unless it were entirely necessary to like survive.
Yeah.
Because there's a certain amount of decorum almost that like she holds over from when she wasn't freaking a tiny
Yeah, totally.
baby.
Well, it's like dogs that grow up really fast and still think they're puppies, right? That'll like jump on people's laps even though they're huge. It's the inverse of that.
In
where you
reverse.
still,
It's
you
the
still kind of
reverse.
think of yourself as being quite large.
But yeah, like Graveris like takes a knee so that Anastasia doesn't feel left out. Like I try to be
Yeah.
inclusive.
Daw.
And so yeah, I'm just like, look, this isn't a time for swords and arrows or directness of any sort. This is going to be strange, and we're going to be trying to talk our way out of it.
Yes.
To be on good behavior, but I can't tell you what good behavior is going to mean here.
Can we see anything that like looks like the witch's lair past the stones, or is it
You
like
wouldn't.
just
You probably wouldn't have even noticed the ring of stones if the
Okay.
if the pixie hadn't pointed it out. Yeah, you just see nothing but oppressive darkness around you.
do we have any idea what crossing this barrier will mean to us or do to us, or if we'll be able to cross back of our own free will?
It seems it will all be at her whim.
I do not
So-
like that.
Good behavior.
Mm.
If it comes to it, and fighting is our last recourse, I wish you all the best of luck. And I like turn
I
around
won't.
and go to walk across the threshold.
I won't be fighting.
Step over follow Graveris.
Okay. All right. So the group of you cross the threshold of stones into the realm of Jenny Greenteeth. Exciting. All right. Well, let's take a break here and we'll see what you find on the other side when we get back. Ooh, I'm excited for this part. This is gonna be good. All right. Stick around, everybody. We'll be right back.